The earth is frozen, the food is gone, and a simple cold will get you a bullet to the head. This is the brutal reality of the colony. When a distress signal comes from a nearby bunker, a rescue team discovers a horror they never expected. A horde of cannibals who have lost their humanity. Can Sam and his team survive the walk back, or will they become the next meal? Let's find out. Global warming had pushed the Earth to its breaking point, leaving humanity desperate for a solution. After years of intense research, scientists built massive climate modification towers to lower the planet's temperature. For a while, it worked perfectly. But decades later, the plan backfired. The towers triggered uncontrollable snowfall, plunging the entire world into a permanent ice age. To survive this frozen nightmare, the remaining humans retreated into underground bunkers known as colonies. Thinking of the future, each colony was stocked with seeds, hoping that one day they could restart civilization. But life underground is far from a paradise. The colonies are constantly battling two major enemies: deadly diseases and a lack of food. When the food ran out, most of the world's population simply vanished. Inside Colony 7, two soldiers, Briggs and Mason, lead the survivors. They live by a strict set of laws, but the tension between them is constant. Mason believes in ruling with an iron fist, claiming it's the only way to protect the group. One day, a resident named Sam is fixing a satellite when he witnesses Mason's brutality firsthand. Mason is forcing a man named Hal out into the cold because he tested positive for a common cold. In this world, a simple flu is a death sentence. The last outbreak killed 20 people in just 1 week. Hal begs for a few more days in quarantine, promising he'll get better, but Mason doesn't care. Realizing he won't be shown mercy, Hal invokes his right to choose his own fate, offering to walk off into the snow himself. Instead of letting him go, Mason coldly shoots him dead. This senseless violence leaves Sam outraged. Later that day, their communication technician, Cooper, brings urgent news to Briggs. They've received a distress signal from Colony 5, a group they haven't heard from in a week. Concerned, Briggs calls an emergency meeting and asks for 2 volunteers to join him on a rescue mission. Sam and a brave teenager named Graydon step up. Before leaving, Briggs appoints Sam's girlfriend, Kai, as the temporary leader, a move that clearly infuriates Mason. Just as the meeting ends, panic strikes. 2 residents, Dexter and his wife Elena, start sneezing. The crowd scatters in terror, fearing another outbreak. Briggs and Mason quickly escort the couple to quarantine before the situation spirals out of control. The next morning, Briggs, Sam, and Graydon begin their long trek across the frozen wasteland. As they walk, the older men describe the world that used to be telling Graydon stories of beautiful blue skies, the golden sun, and the feeling of warm air, things the boy has never known. They show him the towering weather machines that caused this disaster, standing as rusted monuments to humanity's mistake. After hours of battling the sub-zero temperatures, the trio finally reaches a crumbling bridge, moving cautiously as they head toward the mystery of Colony 5. Once they cross to the other side, they stumble upon a chilling sight, a couple frozen to death in the middle of nowhere. It's a mystery why they were out in the elements alone, but there's no time to linger. After several more hours of trekking, the trio finds an abandoned helicopter and decides to take shelter inside for the night. As they huddle together against the cold, Sam opens up about his past, revealing that he was separated from his family during a massive snowstorm as a young boy, only to be rescued by Briggs. By noon the next day, they finally reach Colony 5, but the relief of arriving is instantly replaced by dread. A thick trail of blood leads directly to the entrance. Graydon, sensing the danger, begs the group to turn back, but Briggs and Sam push forward. They descend into the tower and enter the bunker, only to find the corridors painted in blood. The silence is deafening, making it clear that something horrific has taken place here. Suddenly, a loud banging echoes through the halls. Following the sound to a locked room, Sam picks the lock, and they find a man named Leland. He is terrified, starving, and desperate for them to lock the door behind them. Leland shows them a partial transmission that Colony 5 had received, a message from a man claiming they had successfully modified a weather tower. This man spoke of thawed ice, real soil, and a chance to start over. He offered help to anyone who could bring seeds to plant. Leland explains that a group from Colony 5 went on an expedition to find this thaw, but they never found the promised land. Instead, they were followed back by something much worse, a horde of cannibals. These predators slaughtered everyone in the colony to feed on them. Briggs tries to convince Leland to return with them to Colony 7, but Leland is paralyzed by fear. He refuses to leave his room, convinced the monsters are still lurking nearby. When Graydon tries to pull him out, Leland lunges back inside and locks himself in, choosing isolation over the risk of the open halls. Left with no choice, the trio continues to explore, eventually finding the source of the noise. The sight is stomach-turning. They find a leader-like cannibal dismembering a body, surrounded by a pack of others, gorging themselves on human remains. The silence is broken when one of the creatures spots them. As it lunges, Sam fires a shot, killing it instantly, but the sound wakes the entire horde. On their leader's command, the cannibals let out a roar and begin a frantic, bloodthirsty chase after the trio. Shaken to their core, the trio sprints for their lives, firing back at the pursuing pack. Briggs tosses a grenade, and the resulting blast bought them a few precious seconds of relief. But in the smoke and chaos, young Graydon gets separated. Before Briggs and Sam can reach him, the cannibals swarm the teenager. They fight desperately to pull him away, but it's too late. Graydon is brutally killed before their eyes. Heartbroken, but with no time to mourn, the men race for the exit as more creatures close in. They scramble up the ladder and unhook it, desperately trying to cut off the pursuit. Suddenly, a cannibal lunges from the shadows, nearly taking Briggs down. Drawing on his years of military training, Briggs manages to overpower and kill the attacker. Looking down, he sees the cannibal leader screaming up at them in pure, animalistic rage. To end it, Briggs drops a stick of dynamite down the shaft, triggering a massive collapse that buries Colony 5 and everything inside it. As they begin the long trek home, the weight of the mission hangs heavy. Taking shelter in the same abandoned helicopter, a confused Sam asks how people could turn into such monsters. Briggs explains the grim reality. Extreme hunger and desperation can strip away a person's humanity. He had seen these atrocities before, during the early days of the collapse. The next morning, their relief is shattered. Looking back at their trail, they are horrified to see the cannibals survive the explosion and have been tracking their footprints through the snow. They are closing in fast. Sam panics, realizing that if they go straight home, they'll lead the monsters right to the gates of Colony 7. Briggs forms a desperate plan. They will lead the horde to the dilapidated bridge and blow it sky high. They run with every ounce of strength they have left, reaching the bridge just as the cannibals arrive. Briggs sets the dynamite, but to their horror, the fuse sputters and goes out. Knowing this is their only chance to save the colony, Briggs makes the ultimate sacrifice. He tells Sam to run and heads back to relight the fuse. He is swarmed by the pack just as the dynamite ignites, losing his life in a massive explosion that sends the bridge and dozens of cannibals into the abyss. Exhausted and grieving, Sam finally limps back toward Colony 7 alone. But things have gone from bad to worse at home. Mason has completely taken over, dragging the sick Dexter and Elena out into the freezing cold. Without a second thought, he executes Elena, claiming he's, quote, protecting the collective. As Dexter breaks down in grief, Kai arrives and holds Mason at gunpoint, ordering him to stop the madness. In the middle of the tense standoff, Kai spots a nearly frozen Sam stumbling toward the gates and rushes to help him. Sensing an opportunity, Mason knocks Kai unconscious and seizes control of the colony, imprisoning her. Hours later, Sam finally wakes up in the infirmary, safe for now, but forced to deliver the devastating news of what happened to Briggs and Graydon. Mason wastes no time seizing power. He cuffs Sam to his infirmary bed and declares himself the new leader of Colony 7. Sam tries to warn him, telling him the cannibals are coming and that their only hope is to gather the seeds and find the thaw. But Mason is blinded by his own ego. He dismisses Sam's warnings as a hallucination brought on by trauma and exhaustion. Fortunately, a young boy helps Sam pick the locks on his handcuffs. Once free, Sam rushes to find Kai. He shows her the satellite monitors. The thaw is real. They quickly start gathering as many seeds as they can carry, planning to alert the rest of the colony and leave before it's too late. But Mason isn't letting them go that easily. He and his armed men corner the couple, leading to a tense standoff. The argument is cut short by a terrifying sound, heavy pounding on the colony's main doors. The cannibals have arrived. The defense is useless. The creatures tear through the entrances, and pure chaos erupts. In the bloody struggle, Mason is badly wounded. A small group of survivors, including Sam, Kai, and the injured Mason, manage to barricade themselves in a room, but the cannibals are already clawing at the door. Sam finds a narrow vent and helps the survivors scramble inside. Realizing he won't survive his injuries, Mason decides to go out on his own terms. As the cannibals burst into the room, he fires his weapon into a gas cylinder. The massive explosion levels the area, taking Mason and most of the horde with it. However, the cannibal leader survives the blast. He leaps into the vent, attacking Sam in a narrow, claustrophobic tunnel. It's a brutal, desperate struggle for survival, but Sam finally gains the upper hand and decapitates the monster once and for all. Exhausted but alive, Sam climbs out to the surface to find Kai and a handful of survivors waiting for him. With the seeds secured and the monsters behind them, the small group begins their long journey into the frozen wilderness. They are heading toward the thaw, their last and only hope for a future. If you enjoyed this video, do the algorithm things. Like, subscribe, comment, and maybe check out the channel. It keeps the lights on and the mic warm.